Welcome back to Fullmetal Alchemist anime review. This is part 2. Yeah, first time in a couple weeks I've actually done a review of this. Now, in case you're wondering why in the world it took me a couple weeks to do this, it's because I've been kind of busy with work and I'm kind of procrastinating on watching the series. But now I've gotten to episode 40. In these particular episodes, these are adapted from chapters, let me look them up here, from chapters, I have the notes right here, 46 to 76, covering at least 31 chapters of the entire manga. So at this point, they're almost done adapting the manga. In these set episodes, we get a chance to see, one like the origin story of, Ed and Al's father, of how he got the way he is. Yeah, we get to explore that origin story. And there is a particular scene in here, which I do remember this in the manga, where Ed is visiting Rise Hawkeye. Now, this does happen in the manga. The difference is he just shows up at Ram just to talk to her. In the anime, it just return her gun. And they have a conversation, and there's this funny scene. I'm so happy they kept this in the manga. Is Ed basically spitting his coffee on the dog when she suggests that he's in love with Winry, which he is. He is in love with her. Because later on they do get married and have a couple kids. Excuse me. So, from the point of the series, it's really advancing the plot of the series really well. And we get a chance to see. Now, there's one particular character pops up in here, which I do kind of remember this guy from the original pilot of the series. Yeah, it's this sleazy guy who hangs out with Scar. It turns out he's actually from the original pilot of the series, where Ed tricked him with gold. Yeah. I'm actually surprised. The chapter itself was never adapted for the series, but at least it was loosely adapted into a flashback, which is nice, the fact the series did do that. Because here's kind of the thing about the original pilot. It's essentially the same story, except they switch villains. There's two differences between the original pilot and chapter 1. The villains are two different than people, and two, the device falls off the bar counter is different. In chapter 1, it's a radio. In the original pilot, it is a vase. And Al is still the same person who puts it back together. Ed, of course, makes gold and tricks the guy to give up his area and stuff like that. And good thing he was an administrator. Apparently, he was a good job at administrating stuff, so it was a remap, so at least able to kind of see the actual plot itself. And Kennery, who was seen early on in the series, like I think back in the pilot, where he was in jail because the events that happened during the Ishvan War, where actually after he killed a bunch of Ishvans, he was in prison for killing some officers because they tried to take away his Philosopher's Stone. His Philosopher's Stone is basically the shape of a diamond, though he's given another Philosopher's Stone in the shape of a larger marble. That essentially put what his second Philosopher's Stone is. Does he use his Philosopher's Stones? No, not necessarily. He does use it when he fights Scar, but after that he never uses it ever again. He's just a sleazy guy who works for the Fuhrer. Oh, and his nickname as an alchemist is the Crimson Alchemist, and he's also the one who killed Scar's brother. Yeah, he's the one who killed him. Yep, and of course Winry is still hating on Scar for killing her parents, despite the fact she did help him, but at least vengeance basically is not what her parents wanted in order to kill her parents' killer. And of course and then they also have it where, because apparently Colonel Mustang was investigating the Fuhrer for being homunculus and interfering in their plans, he transferred his entire staff to different sectors of the country. Well, with the exception of his beloved lieutenant, who gets assigned to his personal secretary. Everybody else gets assigned basically to 4 different directions on the map. Though one of them actually, Ed and Al actually run into at the Northern Briggs Fort, which is basically, this fortress is basically a giant wall and a mountain. Yeah, it's an interesting place. I gotta admit, basically, that the anime does a really good job of showing it off. And I don't know if it's just me when it comes to showing off the character Andy when he's in his, I would say his monster form. It seems like they use a bit of CGI for him, where, yeah, it's pretty much like CGI, very expensive, much more expensive animation than the Bones the studio usually uses. Now, I should also point out, though, that the series does go through a few different theme songs. Yes, I completely forgot to mention this in part 1 of my review. Let me look it up here. Alright, here we go. If I can get it here. Here we go. Now for the music, the first 14 episodes, it's again. For episodes 15 and 26, it's a song called Hologram. The current song, which I just pretty much finishing up now, it's called Let It Out. And then the final one, which pretty much takes up the last 20. The fourth song is, let's see, it is Golden Time Lover. And then the final song of the series is called Period. Yeah, that is the last song of the series, but the last 2 episodes don't even use opening themes at all. So, yeah, a few different theme songs. So, the most recent one, like I said, is Golden Time. I think it's Period. Yeah, Period is the most current one it's on right now. These are very interesting opening themes, and I do sift through them. There was a couple series I actually skipped through the opening because I really want to get to the extra itself. In the case this one, I actually like the opening theme, so it's not really a big bother to me. Now we also get a chance to see Sloth talk, and I gotta say, Patrick Stewart does a really good job voicing him. Excuse me. Even though you only hear his voice for like 2 episodes, and also in that episodes, it's revealed that Slim Brady, King Bradley's son, is a homunculus, but not just any homunculus. The first one, it's also known as Pride. And I don't know if it's just me when it comes to this particular series. Why in the world is it that the main villains of the series, with the exception of the leader father, why are they named after the 7 deadly sins? I'm not kidding about this. There's a character named Sloth, Wrath, Pride, Lust. Yeah, it's pretty much the 7 deadly sins. Heck, there's 2 guys that go in and greed. Lin, who is the heir to the throne of Zing, he becomes the host to greed, though he later on gets out of it later on, which I will get to that in part 3. His bodyguard, which it's heavily implied that she has a thing for him. Yeah, this smoking hot woman, and she's his bodyguard. I wouldn't be surprised though if he basically decided to marry her and make her the empress of his country. Wouldn't be surprised about that. Nope. Also, the little girl May hangs around with Al a lot because he tells her what his actual body looks like. Well, he's very handsome, he's a gentleman, and so apparently she instantly falls in love with him, and she gets kind of jealous when Winry is actually inside of his armor. Now the reason why she's in there is just to hide. Yeah. And also she gives Ed and Al new automails, new robotic limbs that are much more lighter and not as heavy as the original ones, which, yeah, this did happen in the manga as well, and I gotta say, for the most part for these particular episodes, they're pretty true to how they're presented in the manga. I would say the only change they made, off the top of my head, is the scene of, well, the reasoning for Ed going to visit Rise Hawkeye. With the exception of that, it sticks really close to how it's presented in the manga. And I gotta say, Oliver Armstrong, Alex Armstrong's older sister, smoking hot woman, and she says she's past the childbirthing age. I mean, I'm looking at her. She looks to be in her mid to late. I would say she's in her early to mid 30s. I mean, her younger brother is his mid to late 20s. This might be a big bulky guy. In the case of her, she looks like she's in her early to possibly late 30s. Which, in real life, a woman can still have kids at that age. It's just getting past the age of 40, it's become a little much more difficult from what I've heard. Yeah, this is something I've heard, so I'm not an expert on this. Excuse me. But otherwise, though, these were really good episodes to watch, and still got one more. I still got 24 episodes left to watch the whole series, and I will get my thoughts on those in part 3 and my final thoughts on this series as a whole. And then part 4 will be the OVAs. Part 5 will be the live action that came out last year. And then parts 6 and 7 will be on the Fullmetal Alchemist, the original series. And the 8th and final video will be on the OVAs and the 2 animated films that series had. I will get to those eventually, but right now I'm just focusing on Brotherhood because this series actually bothered to finish adapting its actual manga, unlike Soul Eater, which never finished. This series actually did bother to do it, so there's that. So that's it for this particular one. I was thinking of doing a review for Toguri. I just ran out of time today. That's the honest truth, okay? But I will probably get a chance to do the review of those 3 chapters either tomorrow or maybe Wednesday or Thursday at best. Sometime this week I will do it, alright? But I will do it. Alright? So until I see you in the next video, bye.